Hi everyone. So today I will talk about what I have learned reading the two chapters of the principle of language learning and teaching, written by D. Brown. So let's begin. The topics are the two chapters. The first chapter, the theories of first language acquisition, where we will focus more on behavioral approaches, nativist approach, and the challenges of those two approaches. And the second chapter, like issues in first language acquisition. And we have different concepts that we will talk about that. So first, we have the theories of first language acquisition. Let's begin with behavioral approach. The behavioral approach that was developed by B.F. Skinner. Mhm. Uh, it says that it refers that language learning is a result of imitation, practice, and reinforcement. For example, it says that children learn through stimulus response patterns where correct responses are rewarded. Um, it's a process that is more based in nurture application. Um, One of the challenges of this approach, according to the text, that Chomsky critiques this approach. It says that behaviorism doesn't explain the complexity and creativity of language. Also, it says that children generate novel sentences, indicating that imitation alone cannot account for language acquisition. When a child uh, begins learning different words, uh, the children used to play with with language, with the different words that they have. They try to utter or to form different sentences structure with the same words. So they play with that. It's not only based on imitation, and also language is something too complex to base it only on imitation. Now let's go to the nativist approach. The nativist approach, developed by Chomsky, it says Chomsky theory suggests that humans have an innate ability to acquire language through the language acquisition device, the LAD that we have in our brains. Is something innate, according to Chomsky. This device enables children to process linguistic input and develop a grammar unique to their native language. Um, this approach also have different challenges. It has different challenges. For example, nativism doesn't account for the role of social interaction in language learning or how environmental factors shape language use and development. Yes, uh, in my opinion, I'm more uh, I'm more related, or I like more the Vygotsky theory, like the constructivism, social constructivism, that it says, because social constructivism for me is like uh, the middle. It's like a balance between behaviorism and the nativism approaches, because it says that we learn through social interaction. We have the ability to develop language, but we learn it through social interaction, and depending the interaction that we have with our parents, with our caretakers, or different persons, we will develop language. So that's what I think. I'm more with Vygotsky in this case. So let's continue now with the same second chapter. Issues in first language acquisition. Okay, so right now we will talk about the different concepts. First, competence. According to the book, a competence refers to a person's knowledge of language rules. Okay, when you know the grammar, the different um, vocabularies of different of certain topics. While performance is how they actually use the language in speech or writing. Okay, so that is more like the performance in language acquisition. Comprehension and production. So When you are learning a first language, comprehension is the first thing, like listening to others, and then when you learn how to read, so reading. It says that in the book, it says that comprehension usually precedes production in language acquisition, where children understand more than they can express. At the beginning, children understand more, and then they play with the language, they imitate, and then they can express. But first is comprehension. I think that is the process. So now let's go to the debate: nature or nurture? Nurture. Okay, the debates on whether language acquisition is deriving more by innate abilities, nature, or environmental influences. As I told you before, I'm more in the middle. I think, according to Vygotsky, that we have the innate capacity, but we can't develop language without social interaction. So I'm in the middle. I think it's a combination of nature and nurture. Okay, so universals. The universals refers to the features of language, like the ability to form questions, that appears to be universal across all languages. I think humans have those universals ability to use language in different forms, like sarcasm, uh, questions, and all that. So that those are the universals. Systematicity and variability. Okay, children show a systematic approach to language learning, but also exhibit variability, making mistakes that follow logical patterns. Well, that is clear. Systematicity, that is a system. Children learn with a system, but also they play with the language, so it has variability. Language and thought. The relationship between language development and cognitive processes. Does language shape thought or vice versa? Okay, in this scenario, in this case, I'm more in the stage like I think that language shape thought because I'm more I decline more for the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, like that depending to the language that you speak, you have a different way of thought, like you shape your thought according to your language. And now let's go with imitation, practice, and frequency. Imitation plays a role in early stage, but practice and frequent exposure to language are essential for mastery. Yeah, that is right. That is more in second language acquisition, I think. And well, also in first. So at the end, let's go with input. Input. The quality and quantity of linguistic input children receive are critical for developing their language skills. Yeah, the input is, as I told you with Vygotsky, the social interaction that we have, all the words that we receive, the stimulus, according to the behaviorism that children receive. So that is the input, and it's very important for us either whether for first language acquisition and second language acquisition. So let's go to the reflective conclusion. Um, Application to teaching. Well, in this case, understanding these theories could help us to structure lessons that balance imitation, practice, and meaningful input. I think that knowing all these theories, we can apply it in our teaching practices. For example, we can use a eclectic approach depending on the situation and the student, and we can use all that, like have all the experience that we acquire for the research or the inquiry of the first language acquisition, we can apply it to the second language acquisition or learning or teaching. For example, we can design activities that reinforce language patterns while encouraging creative expression. In my personal experience, I observed that the power of input. For example, when I started to use more the language, speak more, and to be more exposed to the language, I could. how can I say this? I could develop my skills in the language. So input is very important. So I'm more. That's why I decline more for the direct method that they mention in the book when they are talking about the input. Because without input, we cannot uh, produce at the end of the day. So addressing a language problem. A common issue I face, I face when with the students is when they have the difficult to order the words. For example, the structure in English and Spanish for the adjective and noun are different. In English, we said the adjective first and then the noun, but in Spanish, we don't have like that organization. We can say either the adjective or the noun, but we usually say the noun and then the adjective. So according to the nativist approach, their brains are developing internal grammatical rules. So to support this, I could provide them with a structured input. That's what it says. That demonstrates proper word order. For example, when I'm teaching, if they say the hat blue, I could say no, the blue hat, and I could correct them and show different examples in the board or with images or sentences that with the correct pronunciation with the correct structure, and then they could learn it in a deductive way. But also there are inductive strategies that we can apply. So in my conclusion, we if we know all these theories, we can uh, be better teachers and we can enhance our teaching practice. So thank you so much for being with me, and bye bye.